Call to order this December 16th, 2025 regular meeting of the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority of the City of St. Louis. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Evans, not present. Vice Chair Koenig,
Present.
Commissioner Spencer,
Present.
Commissioner Jones,
Present.
and Chair McBride is also not present, but we have a quorum with 3 present and 2 absent.
Great, thank you. Can I get a motion for approval of last month's minutes?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Koenig.
Aye.
Motion passes without voting yes.
Okay. Is there anybody who wants to change the order of our resolutions today, or should I just go in the order presented?
Let's just go down the list.
All right, will do. All right, it looks like Zachary Wilson is going to present resolution number 25 LCRA 10975.
Yes,
Mr. Wilson?
thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This resolution is rescinding resolution number 23 LCRA 10791 and terminating the designation of Goodco LLCs as redeveloper of certain property located in Merrimack, South Compton, Bates, South Grand redevelopment area. Back in July 2023, this board passed resolution 10791 to designate Goodco LLC as a developer of basically Cleveland High School and the field in front of Cleveland High School. Since then, there's been no progress in that project, and LCRA is in the process of purchasing Cleveland High School from the school district. So as we speak currently, we'd like to terminate the rights of Goodco LLC as developer, so we can in the future RFP the project to see what other developers across the nation we could see the interest in the project moving forward. Be happy to answer any questions.
It looks like Commissioner Spencer, you have a question?
Thank you. Just wondering, and just wanted to confirm that there hasn't been any activity since that resolution had passed. I know there was some public meetings and there was a little bit of momentum there, but I'm assuming things have died down or died off.
Correct. There was a couple of neighborhood meetings with Mr. from Goodco with Goodco LLC. Since those meetings, there's been really movements, no redevelopment agreements have been signed or anything along those lines.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, I just want to be sure we're not in any breach of agreement with them, are we?
No, sir, we have no signed redevelopment agreement. This is just kind of a housekeeping.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Is there any other discussion around this resolution? All right. Can I get a motion to approve resolution number 25 LCRA 10975?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Koenig.
Aye.
Motion passes without voting yes.
Okay. Let's move on then to resolution number 25 LCRA 10976. And back to Mr. Wilson on this one.
Yes, thank you. This resolution is authorizing the issues of taxable industrial revenue bonds for 5475 Cabot Avenue. The resolution last month designated Winston Redevelopment LP as the developer of 5475 Academy. Just a refresher, the project's 102 units. It's a rehab of an existing building. That'll be 60% area immediate income, will not exceed the 60% area income for residents in the building. We're allowing for 10 years of tax abatement at 90 followed by 5 at 50. That mirrors all light tech projects we passed by this board. Oh, sorry. So, be happy to answer your questions. Mark Spikeman here is to answer any questions on the, you have any questions about taxable industrial revenue bonds? Or I'd be happy to answer your questions about project.
It appears there are no questions or comments.
I'm assuming just nothing has changed since the last time we heard the full description of the project since last month.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve? Resolution number 25, LCRA 10976.
So move, request previous rule.
Any
Second.
objection to previous rule? Oh, thank
Second.
you.
No, who's second, please?
Jones.
Thank you.
Okay, no objections. Resolution passes on previous roll. All right, next up, resolution number 25 LCRA 10977. And we'll hear from Mr. Kratky on that one.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. To give you guys some context, back in October, we got authorization via resolution, I believe 25 LCRA 10956 to release a solicitation for request for proposals for environmental remediation and demolition at 4690 and 4700 Goodfellow. We have both sites acquired and did our due diligence activities on both. We currently have professional environmental engineers under contract to oversee environmental remediation and demolition work, and they also came up with the remedial action plan and a lot of the specs for the solicitation that we put out to make sure that we are in line with what we need to do there. So today we are seeking to enter into contract with S. Schaefer Excavating Inc. in the amount of $3,692,000 in a not to exceed amount, as they were deemed as the lowest responsible bidder by the selection committee that convened.
Hey,
And that's all for me.
commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Kratky? Commissioner Spencer?
Thank you. So we have an approved bid and all the remediation is completed that needed to be completed in order to move forward with the project or the demolition. That's my first question. And number two would be, what's the timeline on them starting and completing?
So we already had the substantial awards meeting as well. So we're kind of moving forward here with the recommendation from there. And we haven't done any remediation on site that's part of the actual scope for this solicitation
Okay.
and the contractor that's chosen. In terms of when we are starting, we are looking to start as soon as possible following the hopeful approval of this resolution today. Hopefully getting under contract within the next month.
And this is being paid for through the ARPA EPA funds, I see.
ARPA funds and partial ARPA, partial EPA funds. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Phillips, did you have a question?
Less of a question. Cameron answered most of it. I was going to say we do plan on having the contract wrapped up August, September timeframe with the remediation and demolition activities, assuming all goes to plan. Remediation happening first, demolition starting, and then actually the way we plan on having this roll out is there's actually multiple buildings on the property itself. We plan on having them kind of rolling out in kind of a phased concurrent approach, tackling the buildings simultaneously, remediating some of the smaller buildings, demoing those smaller buildings as the remediation finishes up, and then, continuing on with the remediation of the larger buildings. And, as the remediation finishes with the larger buildings, demoing the smaller, and then, wrapping them up, as we move forward so that we don't lose any time, and hopefully wrapping up again around the August, September timeframe.
How many buildings in total are involved?
7. The one hardly counts, though. It's kind of a little utility building.
Okay.
From the photos, it looks like a pretty significant demolition and environmental project, so.
I would agree. I would agree. Yes.
Okay. Is there any other discussion about this resolution?
Thank you all.
Can I get a motion to approve resolution number 25 LCRA 10977?
So move. Request for previous row.
Second.
Any objections to previous roll? Okay, this resolution passes. Thank you, Mr. Kratky.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to resolution number 25 LCRA 10978, and this goes back to Mr. Wilson.
Yes, thank you. This is related to project 21C on F1528 through 1530 Locust. Back in 21, bonds were issued, industrial revenue bonds were issued for up to $92 million. Project is a great success, but the costs have ran during development and build out of the space. This resolution aims to increase that maximum do not exceed to $96.5 million. Mark Brady is here to speak on the behalf of the developer. If you have any questions about the project, Mark Spiker can go a little more in the weeds on the process to amend these documents. If you have any questions.
Okay, Mr. Brady, can you give us a little more background on the request for this amendment?
Sure. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Again, this refers to the 21C hotel project, the redevelopment of the former downtown YMCA building. And essentially what happened is we ended up spending and investing more money in the personal property than was originally estimated. And as we were kind of going through the process to get the tax abatement in place for the personal property, we were going through the effort to finalize the various workforce compliance issues, and that extended beyond the end of the year last year. So we just went ahead and paid our full personal property taxes, despite the fact that we had the agreement for those to be abated. And then what we're doing now is, because we did invest more in the personal property, by increasing the cap for that, it will get us back to the point where we originally agreed to as far as the value of the overall abatement over the life of the project, since we paid the full taxes last year. I know I've been working very closely with Mr. Spikerman and Mr. Wilson, the other member of the staff, to kind of pull this together, to kind of basically get back to the point where we were prior to the payment of the full taxes last year.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Mr. Spikerman, can you give us any more details about how this transaction will actually occur?
Yeah, mechanically, the LCRA has already issued these revenue bonds to facilitate the abatement. All that we're going to do, we're not going to adjust any years or percentages of abatement. The only thing we're going to adjust is how much personal property can be subject to the abatement, essentially by increasing the bond principal amount by $4.5 million. The savings that the developer receives from that additional personal property that they're able to submit for abatement balances out the loss that Mr. Brady had explained earlier.
Okay. So, up to the 4.5 million requests today, there's been they've used up all of it up to this
That
point,
is
right?
correct. And I'm
Okay.
gonna apologize to throw a lot of numbers out at you, but the original approvals several years ago were for a principal amount of bonds equal to 92 million, which included the renovation of the building. Of that 92 million, 7.5 was earmarked for personal property, furniture and other equipment for use of the hotel. It's that 7.5 portion that we're going to increase by 4.5. So 7.5 plus 4.5 gets you to 12 million. Now there'll be potentially up to 12 million of personal property available for abatement. The result of that is we also have to increase on paper the 92 million by 4.5 to 96.5. But that's the 4.5 is only for the personal property piece.
Okay. Yep. That's a lot of numbers, but I appreciate numbers. Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioners, any questions or comments about this resolution? Yes, Commissioner Spencer?
I call it 21C my second home, so thank you for what a renovation. It is just so impressive, and what you guys are doing with your programming is awesome. So thank you for the investment. And just to follow up on a couple of points, just for clarification, there's no new redevelopment area, no extension to the abatement length, no new category of the abatement. It's really just adding 4.5 million to the bond principal increase because of the eligibility for the abatement to increase to be able to cover the additional costs there. Is that all right?
Yes, yeah, and that's it. Now, if Mr. Spikerman wants to confirm, and I just want to say thanks for the kind words about the project. We're really, really pleased with how everything turned out as well.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, can I get a motion to approve resolution number 25, LCRA 10978?
So moved, request previous rule.
Second.
Any objections to previous roll? All right, doesn't appear so. So this resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Now it looks like we can move into general business, and we're looking back to Mr. Wilson to talk to us about resolution number 25, LCRA 10979.
So this
Zach?
resolution, yes, this resolution is condoning an ongoing usage of the updates to a recommended abatement map for residential projects under $1 million. Back in 2018, staff began using a map that we later adopted in 2021, January 26, 2021. And every few years, we update this map. So moving forward, we'd like to have this resolution as a base to allow us to update the map when needed. When not certain data comes out, that we can update the map when we can. Andrew's going to walk through a PowerPoint to kind of show you how the changes in the map have occurred over the last couple of years. Andrew?
Yep, let me share my screen really quick. I can share a window, I think. Do you all see this?
Yes, sir.
I do.
Okay. So, kind of a lot here, but I'll not try to take too long, but hopefully it kind of reminds us all of the use of this and kind of the value of it. So if I can. All right, so a little bit of a refresher here. As Zach mentioned, this was originally um, this was a policy kind of adopted in 2018 and last updated in 2021. This was part of a process of trying to rethink how we did tax abatement for small projects. It was kind of subsequent to the financial model and the scoring systems that we've sort of evolved over the years for larger projects, and then not really having like something explicit for smaller projects, residential projects, like in particular. And its general purpose was to provide something objective, measurable, and reflective of the market conditions, especially in the residential market, and something that can, evolve over time as those conditions change, and even to reflect, in some ways, how places have changed from one year to the next. I'll talk a little bit more about this on the next slide, but it's obviously intended to be relatively simple in its use, not necessarily the development of it. So there'd be less administrative effort on both our side and the developer's side. So some of the benefits of this map are obviously it's visual, and therefore mostly should be easier to understand for a lot of audiences, including the public. It gives kind of a picture of the overall city and the market where it stands as well. Smaller developers or maybe less sophisticated developers and rehabbers should be able to use it and don't have to understand our more advanced models and scoring systems, or take the effort to do some of that work. It also has value in that it can kind of guide investment decisions. So, a rehabber or a smaller home builder could quickly access our publicly available map and make decisions on where they want to invest, ideally because of this, and don't have to go through a process that's a little bit more uncertain. Obviously, there's some limitations. You can't accurately capture all the market conditions. We only really have certain data. There's a little bit of lag time in the data, given that we're mostly using census data and then some Housing Mortgage Disclosure Act data that all have at least a year lag, and with the census data, there's usually like a 2-year kind of lag. It doesn't fully reflect the need in all cases, and it doesn't really quantify the city's benefit from giving out tax abatement according to this. And it doesn't account for some of the other things like in the community benefit scorecard, the fiscal model that we have for larger projects. And then, in particular, some of the stronger areas where we might want to have affordable housing development. This would recommend, no abatement or a modest abatement, where we might value having more affordable housing in some of those areas. So it's not perfect, but it does accomplish a lot of things. So the components of the map are they've changed a little bit over time, but haven't changed since the last time we updated this. There previously was a measure of vacancy that we got from the census that when looking at it deeper, it was very variable from one year to the next. So we removed that as a variable the last time we updated this map. So there's really two sides to this. So there's the census data and the HMDA data. Fee variables on the census data side, 15% of the overall score that a census block group gets is attributable to median home value. We also do median home value by room to sort of account for certain areas having, larger homes. And so median home value to an area with kind of smaller homes, it just sort of skews it a little bit. So that helps to normalize some of those areas and just the characteristics of the homes in the area. Median income, obviously, we have median income change. So if this 5%, which kind of helps show that an area is starting to change, that maybe isn't as prevalent in the home values themselves, or if somewhere has had home values that are relatively high for quite a while. The change kind of illustrates something different in the picture there. Rent as well. So obviously there's rental properties and rental rehabs that can be built, and so incorporating rent in some way. And I think as we know too, some areas where rent starts to go up a lot ends up becoming a hotter market for owner occupied units as well. And then on the HMDA data side of things, so we have number of loans, loan amount per loan, and loan amount per all owner occupied units to kind of separate between owner occupied and rental. So this kind of just weights into the index the volume of loans being made to just sort of show some activity and attraction or the opposite in an area. And then kind of the most important thing to note about all of this is that we have this data for census block groups throughout the city. And then we are, weighting according to what I just described, and ultimately creating an index, which is a score, weighting it against the average census block in the MSA. So it's not just relative strength within the city. It's taking all of the city and indexing it to the average for the entire MSA. So obviously some areas kind of perform above average, which would be an index of 1, and some are, below. So here's the 2025 map. You have the map on the left side. I have this table here in the middle, which shows kind of how the index then relates to what we recommend for an abatement level. So there's basically 7 categories. If a census block group gets an index above 1, no abatement is recommended. And then we go down from 1 to 0.9, 0.75, 0.6, 0.45, and then below 0.3. Obviously, the recommendation for abatement kind of climbs both in terms of term and percentage as you go lower below 1. One change that we did make this year is to some of the middle categories, like 10 years at 75%. We used to have kind of like an option within that, 5 years of 95%, or 10 years at a lesser amount. And so we kind of, just to simplify this a little bit and to remove the 95% abatement thresholds that we used to have in here, given that we sort of, as a matter of policy, don't really do abatements above 90%. Otherwise, for a large project, so it just kind of puts those, kind of makes them similar. But the value of those abatements more or less works out to the same by removing the terms and things like that. So maybe a couple things to call out. 30% of census block groups are above an index of 1, so above average relative to the MSA. And then there's a pretty even distribution throughout the rest of those tranches. I guess in some ways kind of good that the smallest group here, 8%, are below the 0.3. I will compare this against the 2021 map in just a second, but and I might note too, actually, that the reason why we haven't updated since 2021 is that in 2020, obviously there was the decennial census, and a lot of the data that comes out from that one, given that it's the big every 10-year census, was pretty delayed. And also given that one of our variables is to measure change over time. So current or most up-to-date year versus a few years back. It took some time for us to have that ability, because in the 2020 census block groups change like a little bit, like their boundaries. And so some of the data becomes kind of incomparable until you have several years with the new set of census block groups. A few years of note. So kind of no abatement areas are downtown, the entirety of Central Corridor, essentially, areas around Tower Grove South, kind of mostly to the north of that though, Soulard, parts of Southwest City, and a little pocket down around Carondelet Park. High levels of abatement are generally the entirety of Northwest City with all of those census block groups in the very lowest tranche being mostly in the northwestern part of the city. And then higher levels, not quite the highest, but in Southeast City. Okay, so this is the 2021 map. I will have a slide where there'll be side by side after this, so you can kind of see more visually. But maybe just a couple things to call out here. I think you'll notice sort of in this like central corridor, midtown area, there's a little bit of a change where it's now no abatement, and there was some abatement recommended before. A little bit of that is just sort of how the data works out with not a lot of housing activity in some of those areas. It sort of weights things down in previous years and kind of corrected in this newest map. But you will see that in 2021, a higher percentage of census block groups were above an index of 1, and a lot of census block groups were kind of in this 0.45 to 0.60 range, which is higher levels of abatement. So kind of interesting, and I'll discuss comment on that in a second. So no abatement areas were downtown, and most of Central Corridor, pointing out a little bit that has changed in this current version of the map. Tower Grove South and areas kind of around it, very similar. Soulard, Southwest City, Carondelet, and again, North City, Southeast City. Okay, so here's the two maps together. On the left side is 2021, right side is 2025. I called out a few areas. You could call out even more, and I might comment on that again. But you can see sort of Northwest City, like Mark Twain, Penrose, almost to like Walnut Park-ish area, has sort of declined in a sense, and would be recommended a higher level of abatement. A little bit of change kind of in that area on the western part of the city. Some of the more industrial areas up in the northeast part of the city have changed, I guess, in a positive direction. There is this little bubble in Midtown that I discussed. Mostly there was no actual housing volume activity to index previously, and now there's a little bit which shoots that up. Something that's sort of notable is that, not the entirety necessarily, but, the majority of Southwest City previously was recommended for no abatement, and some of the more peripheral areas now would qualify for some level of abatement. And then so just kind of summarizing where change occurred, this map on the left might be a little bit confusing to just sort of look at, but it was trying to map the changes. There's a little bit of weirdness in this again because the boundaries of census block groups change, so it might look a little strange, but as you can see, certain areas change by like one category. The largest changes are sort of in this like Midtown, downtown west-ish area. And kind of interestingly, kind of Gravois Park, Dutchtown, those areas sort of adjacent to those relatively strong areas around Tower Grove South and sort of the core of South City have improved a little bit, while parts of Southwest City have sort of declined a bit. And then a little bit of change, kind of Dogtown and Southwest Garden area. Areas that declined are Kingsway, the Ville, Mark Twain, Penrose, parts of Southwest City, as I mentioned, and also a pretty big change in kind of like the LaSalle Park area. What else was I going to say here? Yeah, I think that might be it. sort of the entirety of Central Corridor is sort of strengthened a bit, a little bit of concentration more around the very center of Southwest City, some parts of Northwest City getting a little bit worse, and a little bit of trickling out kind of in the southern portions of the city overall. With that, if there are questions, I'm definitely happy to answer. It's kind of a fun exercise to go through this, and I think it does paint somewhat of a picture of some of the changes in the real estate market in our city overall as well.
It's a very interesting analysis, Andrew, and thank you so much for presenting it so clearly, and it could be a very complex thing to communicate. So I really appreciate it, and it's very interesting. And as you went through it, kind of stepped through and really hit on the parts that I was curious about. And um, I just want to thank you. Good work, Commissioner Spencer.
You guys know this is my sweet spot. So let me start by discussing the 1 million threshold. And I know Zach knows the answer, and Andrew, I know you know the history too, but in my mind, as a developer in the city of St. Louis, that threshold is too low. So I'm wondering why we haven't looked at increasing it. And then when I think about it, it's the board bill that reduced that threshold to 400,000. So if the threshold is now $400,000 to meet MEB, WB certification, how come we're not using 400,000 and we're still at the million? The million to me is still too low, but maybe you could provide some context around that.
Yeah, we in the past used $1 million threshold, as like you said, that's where all our MWB prevailing wage enforcement guidelines kicked in. So it might be, we can look into dropping it down to 400,000. But in an ideal world, we would like to keep it at $1 million because it gives clear language, clear processes to developers and the public moving forward. But like you said, that core bill is very new or newish, and
Right.
we'll have to look into that more.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. That's kind of what I thought the response would be, and I do want to make sure that this is all kind of on the record and that we're talking about it, because that board bill that reduced the threshold to 400,000 did not include single family residential. So I can kind of see that maybe that's one of the reasons you keep it a little bit higher, because that is, that wasn't part of that board bill, but we've got to continue to get that consistency between our policies.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out, the map may say no abatement in certain areas, but
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
that's an
But,
option. You have the flexibility. Yeah.
yeah, that we still are very open to, if there's a narrative of a project that needs abatement, maybe a white elephant house that's been vacant for the last 10 years and the neighborhood wants it developed. And the only way that project gets developed is through tax abatement. That's a story we can tell, and that's a
Right.
story we can support, even though it's in a no abatement area, so.
Right, exactly. And I know there's all sorts of ways to work around and have, discussions about individual projects, and I get it. I just think that as a developer looking at a map and really understanding, what is possible with not out having to be, come in with a lot of experience and knowing the questions to ask is going to be able to allow us to make, to attract more development. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, when I see and I talk to developers, including projects that we look at, we probably would not look at a project that was 75% abated for 10 years or less because of the compliance issues and how long it takes to get the approvals and just how painfully dismantled that whole program is. So do we have a lot of data that shows that people are using those lower tax abatements with the lower percentages? And if we don't have very many of them, why not just wipe them out, make the map easier to view, and then maybe we can get more development based on it just being a little bit simpler. And that my last question is, if I could get pointed to the map that actually has the streets, because the maps that were submitted are pretty general in terms of the boundaries, having the actual streets and also acknowledging that you can have one abatement on one side of the street and a different abatement on the other side of the street, literally, is also maybe a reason why we want to lower the number of categories just to make that a little bit simpler. But just those are just some, food for thought and some of the things that when I read the resolution, started looking into it a little bit deeper, I was thinking about.
No, then we're very open to the map online. It has streets on it, and it's an address where you can type in the address and can zoom into exactly where you're looking. So the maps we have on our SLDC website, please go use them as much as possible because it's very clear data, very precise data. We want to be as transparent as possible. But no, if we're open to possibly having fewer categories in the future, but when we adopted this map in 2000 or started using this map in 2018 and adopted in 2021, we had way more tax abatement applications for residential projects.
Mhm.
When the market is slow in residential housing, that's when we saw an uptick in tax abatements because we're competing against other areas. And the developers were submitting these applications to have a more of a carrot to buy in the city. Now the
Mhm.
market has heated up some, we see fewer applicants because it does take some time to go through the process. We just thought the map helps streamline that process somewhat, takes the questions, confusion out of what possible we can get. It helps answer the questions up front for the public and developers moving forward. So no, we're very open to having the discussions of possibly having fewer categories or looking into other ways to improve this. It's just an ongoing process of how to communicate what incentives do for the public and how we can help spur development. Also, another thing with the tornado impact, we do not have data for that area yet. And once we do get data on how the tornado has impacted those areas, we'll probably be back with an updated map for that front also.
Yeah, and just a couple of added expanded thoughts, and you're right that it's an ongoing effort and it's always evolving. But I would suggest if we could get the data around, and the market is going to play a role in this. Higher interest rates are going to mean fewer projects. But if we could get some data from your staff about how many of the lower percentage categories are actually being used, that would give some justification to maybe reduce some of the categories. And I don't remember seeing a lot. And frankly, when I see somebody coming in at 50%, at 5 or 10 years, it's very seldom. And I ask myself, why are they asking to do that? And why would they want the pain of that for, that sort of incentive? But that is just another thing to maybe consider as you're looking at it.
No, we'll get you that report hopefully next month. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sean. To Sean's point, I just wanted to ask, and maybe you had said this, how long has that threshold been at 1 million? Has it always been that, like since 2008?
2018, yes. When it was created. When we created the map in 2018.
18, okay. Yeah, that does seem like it needs a revisit. No, certainly what you could build in 2019 is different than what you could build today. So
100%.
okay, any other discussion on this?
I'd just say that's the one way we might be able to get more investments into the city if that threshold was, and that's without having to deal with the compliance and the certification. That would be worth looking into. That might be the shortest path to more development.
And there's certainly a number of the type of like neighborhood benefiting types of projects that are maybe like $5 million and less, that we love to encourage, I'm sure, so.
Yeah, exactly. $5 million is kind of the, $3 to $5 million is more typical now than 500,000 to a $1 million. You can't build a 4-family for $1 million these days. So,
Yeah.
what's
Right.
that tell us? Thank you for allowing me to have so much mic time today. It is a fun category, and I just want to make sure we're doing it the best that we can as we go forward.
Okay, good. It was a good discussion. Thank you. Are we ready to put forward a motion to approve resolution number 25, LCRA 10979?
So move, request a previous roll.
Second.
Any objections to previous roll? I see none. Therefore, this resolution passes. And now we will move on to Mr. Hahn, who will present the financial report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So this report is for the period ending, the year ending June 30th, 25. These are the numbers that were given to the auditors for their review. Their report is basically complete. It's not official, but they'll be presenting to SLDC later this week. I'll run through this report, and if you have any questions along the way, just let me know. The June 30th cash balance was 16.69 million. Not to get too excited about, because 11.2 of that is ARPA related escrows that need to be spent within a year, basically. We have accounts receivable interagency, which kind of offsets the accounts payable interagency. Accounts receivable other of 89,000 relates to funds that we advanced on the Major League Soccer team project. And they've been billed, and we'll follow up on that. The accounts receivable from parking operations is all been cleared up and paid. And we are now on an ACH system with the parking operator, and we get those monies electronically. Due from funding sources, 1,706,000. Does everybody have this in their folder, by the way? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So 1,706,000 from funding sources. That's primarily the state of Missouri. And then you can see right below it, we have an allowance for the actual portion from the state of Missouri. The other portion of that is related to affordable housing, which owes us money to complete the Biddle loan payoff. So we expect the Biddle loan payoff to occur about around this time next year. And that was a 10-year note with affordable housing, and that's what's left. The notes receivable, 11.699 million relates to 4 projects. The arcade, which is basically put back into the project, so we set up an allowance for that. Then we have notes receivable from the Delmar Divine project. It's roughly 2.1 million. Kingsway project, roughly 700,000, and then 600 Washington, 4.9 million. We have allowances against that 11 million of 6,078,000, netting to 5,621,000. The property, plant, and equipment is made up of many projects, the largest being the LCRA garage, which totals almost 28 million when you add land and cost of improvements. We have accumulated depreciation of 20 million, leaving a net value of 16.1. Then we have accounts payable 261, interest payable of 40,000, notes payable of 11,964,000. The notes payable are basically the 600 Washington of 4.2 million with the state of Missouri, MDFP of the state of Missouri, the LCRA garage of 5.7, Biddle House of 0.3, and City Block 177 when we acquired that piece west of the new entranceway, and it's now a surface lot temporarily. But we owe, we bought it for 2.3. I think we owe 1.8 at this point. I already talked about the intercompany payables and receivables. We have 13.289 million in escrows, the largest being the ARPA escrow money that we're holding, especially related to the land acquisition fund, which I think Rob could spend in 30 minutes if he wanted to. So we're not really too worried about that one. And but there's many other little things in there that I won't get into. The 721 is a miscellaneous payable to offset 721 in notes receivable. And then on page 2, I show the revenue and expense for the year. And it's a 4-column page. The first column is the budget for FY25. The second column is the year-to-date activity. And I did not change the 531 to 630, but these are really 630 numbers. And then comparable to the prior year, the FY24 year to date. And then the last column is just a copy of the second column because it's the year end. Projections are actually what the actual results were. Parking was parking revenues were down across the board. City Block 426, which is adjacent to the baseball stadium, we collected 213,000. That's a net figure. We had budgeted 275. The prior year we had 268. The City Block 124, which is tucked in next to the dome, was probably our better performing lots and still not up to par. 273,000 collected. Again, that's net versus 330 budgeted and 300, which was collected last year. Then the City Block 118, which is our garage, 2.2 million in revenues for FY 2025, 2,750,000 budgeted, and 2,558,000 collected last fiscal year. You know that the garage has construction, ongoing construction, which does affect that quite a bit. We have a primary tenant in Steeple, and we tried to make things pleasant for them down there, that they don't feel like they're the only game in town, so to speak. So those numbers were nice during COVID, but they're really not nice as we try to rebound downtown here. We need to get those numbers up. The lease rental amount below that, 155,000, is primarily lease on, that we lease out City Block 177, that parking lot by the convention center entrance to, I think a group called Millennium. They used to be SP Plus. And that is net of security costs that we have imposed down there. Should be around 180,000. The bond and development fees, budgeted 1.5, received 1,237,000. Prior year we had 1,548,000. The interest revenue, we've been getting pretty decent interest rates, 447 versus the budget of 400, 526 the prior year. The next item was real estate options and sales, 1,089,000, $1,000 last year. And if you recall, I think we talked about on the Carondelet Coke site, the LCRA and LRA both entered into that sale agreement with Green Street. LCRA was only going to take up to the amount it had invested in the project. When the state told us they were not going to complete the brownfield holdback to us because we didn't meet required jobs, we had to write that off. This should have been applied last year. If you look down column 3, where it says loss on sale, debt impairment, 1,384,000. It should have been recorded last year to offset that. But it's recorded this year, which last year we had a net of 1,550,000 before the transfer to SLDC. This year, it's a little better, and I'll get there as I walk down the line here. The program non-governmental is the MSD demolition program. We had 644,000 this year. The intergovernmental revenue is basically 2 programs, one from the state where MDFB channels money through LCRA. You see those projects come along periodically. And the ARPA program, we spent roughly 4.8 on the we received 4.8 on the MFD, MDFB, and 4 million on the ARPAs. So that makes up the 8.7. We had interest expense on our debt of 701,000. We had consulting expense a little bit higher. You can see where we encountered a lot of legal costs related to the downtown projects around the railway exchange, so Millennium, the north side regeneration. So the consultants were a little high, 277, budgeted 250. Facility and property expense, 1,205,000, budgeted 975. Prior year, 1,123,000. That again was related to costs that we spent to stabilize the area around the railway exchange building. Depreciation expense on the garage improvements are 325,000. Appraisals, titles, surveys, 22,000. Construction program expense of 9,288,000 pretty much compares to the last 2 items in the revenue, the program revenue and the intergovernmental revenue, pretty much equal that number. And we had net income, if you subtract the 11 million in expense from the 15 million in revenue of 3.226. We transferred out 2.5 to SLDC and increased our fund balance from a beginning balance of 13.8 to 14.5. And happy to try to answer any questions.
Lori.
Are there any
Commissioner-
questions?
It's not an item you need to vote on, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Spencer?
Well, just thank God for Charlie. You always kind of hit all the high points for the stuff we need to pay attention to, but a couple things that I'd just like a little more clarity on is the escrow amount. You said it would refer to the ARPA programs for the land assemblage. Is that just a book entry, or is that literally moving funds into escrow so they're available to work on the programs related to the ARPA funding?
Yeah, ARPA is a little different than some of our grant programs. They've advanced the money, so we do not record that as revenue until it's used. So what we will do is debit the cash and credit an escrow until it's used. And then we clear out that escrow and drop it down to revenue as we use it.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. And then the other couple things that we all got to pay attention to is ARPA obviously running down next over year, maybe a little bit plus. Little concern with the development fees and bond fees, because I think a lot of those were probably related to LIHTC projects and not many more market rate type projects. So the other maybe a little concerning part of the report was the parking demand and maybe what that looks like going into 2026 and in future years. So we've got to pay attention to both of those things. I think our agenda today is it's a good example. We don't have any new projects really coming online in the last couple of meetings. So just want to point that out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Charlie, for the good work and the nice overview. And like Sean said, walking through it, you hit all the important points, and I'm much more informed now than I was before. I think it is time to move into executive session. And before we do that, is Olivia going to go through the guidelines for going into executive session?
Yes, that would be pursuant to Missouri statute 610-01 subsections 1, 2, and 12.
Okay, thank you. I guess we'll all go into, do I have to do a motion to go to an executive session? Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
Joe, you need to call for a motion, and then we'll need a motion second. We'll call vote.
Thank you. May I have such motion?
So move.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Spencer,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Koenig.
Aye.
Motion passes with all voting yes.
All right. See you guys on the other side. All right, Linda, do you think we've got everybody back who are waiting on?
You got everybody back?
Okay, thank you. Is there anything for open agenda?
No, ma'am.
Yes? No, ma'am? Okay. All right, then I guess I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So move.
Second. Nice job, Lori. Thank you for leading today.
Thank you. See you guys next year.
Next
Happy
year.
holidays.
I'll
Well,
see you
except
on
some of you I
Thursday.
will see next or in a couple days, but other than that, maybe some of you next year.
Bye,
Happy
everybody.
holidays.
Bye.